Good morning. Happy to meet you all through this learning session. Corona pandemic, COVID panic. It's a tough time on one side, but on the other side, it's a great time for net and set aspirants since you have time in abundance to get ready to focus on what you really want to achieve. With this, let me welcome all the net set aspirants to a happy learning. So today's session is exclusive. Today's session is exclusive for net and set aspirants. I'm going to focus on paper 1 of net syllabus, updated net syllabus. So this session will cover 2 topics from English. I'll be giving you hints on how to answer questions from English. So basically you all know paper 1 has 10 parts, 10 topics. So of these 10 topics, 2 topics are exclusively, 2 topics belong completely to English. And the topics are part 3 reading comprehension, part 4 communication. So each topic has 5 questions. So totally you will get 20 marks from English. Okay, now I'll move on to the first topic. Part 3, reading comprehension. So what is reading comprehension? We are all familiar with reading comprehension since just right from school days we'll be attempting this. So it's a passage with a set of 5 questions. Each question carries 2 marks, so totally 10 marks from reading comprehension. And you may wonder why reading comprehension in net paper 1? Because they want to test 2 elements. The elements are vocabulary and text comprehension. So what is meant by vocabulary? Words and meanings. How good you are with English words and meanings. They want to test that. And the next element is text comprehension. So what is meant by comprehension? Understanding. How good you are in understanding things. So these 2 elements they want to aim. They want to test it. That's why they include reading comprehension in paper 1. And now coming to the definition, coming to the meaning, what is meant by reading comprehension? You have 2 words here. So what is the meaning? Reading, we all know, right? Now comprehension. Comprehension means understanding. So through reading, you understand what is given in the text. Okay? So that's what is called as reading comprehension. So a passage will be given. You have to read the passage. You have to understand what is discussed in the passage. That is reading comprehension. And now, there are many methods to solve reading comprehension. I told you it's a passage with a set of questions. To answer these questions, we can adopt many approaches. So here I've dealt with 2 common approaches. The first approach is para first, question later. The second approach is question first, para later. So what is that? Para first, question later. Most of us do this, use this approach. What we do is, we read the entire passage first. And when reading, what we do is, we'll just have a pen or pencil. We'll consider something as important. So what we do is, we'll just mark out the important points. So that is the first approach. Reading the entire passage, marking all the points that we think are important. And I would like to tell you one thing. When we read the passage, we have to identify three things here. So what are the 3 things? The first is, what is the passage about? What is the subject of the passage? The second thing is, what does the author say about the subject? What is his views on that particular subject? The third thing is, what is the message he wants to convey through the subject? So these are the 3 points we need to identify while we read the passage. For instance, if the passage is on corona, the subject is corona. And the second thing, what does the author say about the subject? So he'll be discussing various things about corona. What is corona? It's a disease, it's a virus, and what are all the symptoms, everything. So what does the author say about the subject? So that we have to identify. And the third thing is, what is the message he conveyed? So the message he conveys here is all the precautionary measures we need to take. So these are the three things that we need to identify while we read the paragraph. So that is the first approach. Now coming to the other approach, the next approach. This is also a common approach. Some students use this approach. It is called skimming approach. What is it? Skimming. Reading something quickly. Okay. So normally we look at the questions first. We just go back and forth with the questions, and later on, looking at the question, trying to find out the answer with a paragraph. So that method is called as question first, para later. For your information, this approach is time consuming. So my suggestion is you can use the first approach, because we'll be looking at the question, we'll be reading the paragraph, we'll be looking at the question, second question, reading the paragraph again. So reading something quickly, even if it is quickly, till we finish, until we answer all the questions, we have to read again and again. So somewhat time consuming. Okay? So these are the two common approaches. Now, so we have read the passage and we have identified all the ideas about the subject. Now, I've given few hints on how to answer questions in reading comprehension. Just look at the 3 points. Have a good vocabulary. This is very common. This is a must. Okay. So vocabulary, I've already told you, it is just a knowledge, it's an idea about words and meanings. Okay. So unless you are good at vocabulary, it's difficult. It will be a difficult task to answer. But do not worry. Do not panic. Even if you're not good at vocabulary, if there is a question on, there may be questions on synonyms and antonyms. For that, you should have a good vocabulary. But even if you don't have, don't worry. Just read the word, read the sentence in which the word is used. Try to get the meaning of the sentence, and from that you can identify the exact meaning of the word. For example, if the passage is about corona and there you have a word pandemic, okay? So the question is, give the synonym of the word pandemic. If you are not sure about the meaning, what you have to do is just read the sentence where the word is used, okay? And from that sentence, you can identify corona spreads across continents all over the world. So right from that sentence, you come to understand that pandemic is nothing but that spreads across countries. So that is the method to solve question. Okay, solve answer. Solve question. The next one is use elimination method or Bain approach. So if you are not sure about the correct option, what you have to do is you'll be having 4 options. You just eliminate all the incorrect answers first. So you eliminate the choices which are too broad. Broad in the sense that includes everything. For example, where did corona originate? Just like that. Where did it start first? If the answer is Eastern countries, China, and somewhat a street name, just like that, what you have to do is you just eliminate the wrong option, broad option. Here, Eastern country is a broad option, so you can eliminate that. And narrow option, if they have given any particular street name or just like that, that is too narrow, right? So you just eliminate that. Too extreme, something that is at the highest level. Okay. So all these wrong options, you just eliminate. What is left over will be your correct answer. You can use this method also. So it is called Bain approach. Why? What is meant by Bain? Eliminate the choices which are too broad, B, broad, and A, narrow, B-A-N, and too extreme, E, Bain approach. Okay. So you just eliminate the wrong option, and what is left will be your right answer. This is just a trick. Okay. And the third thing is, it's very important. That's what we always do. Okay. We'll be having much knowledge on corona, but you just have your knowledge with you, because you should not apply your knowledge. Don't assume things. What is given in the paragraph, you just use that alone to solve the answers, to solve the questions asked. Okay. Do not apply your knowledge or assumption. Just confine your understanding to the passage only. Don't go for more things. Don't assume things. Okay. So these are just the tricks to answer questions in reading comprehension. I hope if you follow these things, if you follow these tricks, 10 marks will be an easy thing. You can easily get 10 marks in reading comprehension. So with that, we complete the first topic. Now we'll move on to the second topic, communication. So part 4 is communication, and you'll be getting 5 questions from communication too. So we are going to discuss these types, these topics: nature, types, barriers, and effective communication. Okay. Now coming to the definition, communication. We all know what is communication. We all communicate. Human beings communicate. Animals communicate. So what is it? Communication. It is the process of passing information from one person to another. So what we have in mind, if we want to communicate, if we want to share our opinion or idea, we communicate. Okay, so it's a process of sharing information or ideas. Coming to the root, coming to its origin, it comes from the Latin word communica, which means to share. So sharing. Okay, so thereby we get the meaning of the word communication. Now, you just look at the process of communication, how communication is done. Just look at the diagram, you will get a clear idea on what communication is, how it is done. Okay. So, to communicate, we need at least two persons, sender, receiver. Okay. Look at the diagram you have, it is described clearly. So, sender is conveying the message to the receiver. One who gives information is called sender. Okay. So, the message is sent to the receiver. One who receives message is called receiver. So giving information is called encoding. So sender is otherwise called as encoder. The one who gives message, one who encodes message is called encoder, and the giving away the message is called encoding. Now the message is given and the receiver is receiving the message. So receiving is called decoding. The receiver is otherwise called as decoder. Okay. So sender to receiver, the message is passed. Encoding, decoding, it is done. And is this process successful? How do we understand that? If the sender receives the feedback, if he gets a proper response, it means that the communication process is successful here. You just have a look. We have a look on the top. You just look at the feedback image there. So feedback, if he receives a proper feedback, the process is successful. If not, for example, if the sender is asking a question, are you coming today? The receiver gets the information and he is replying, yes, I am. Okay. So if he gets this response, the process is successful. Unless what happens is noise. You just look down, we have a word there, noise. So if he does not get a proper reply, it means that there was a barrier. The message did not reach the receiver. He didn't receive the message properly. So there was an interpretation. There was a barrier. So he did not get the message. So this diagram clearly explains the process of communication. Now, what are the characteristics of communication, features of communication? There should be two or more persons. There should be a mutual understanding between the sender and receiver, and common language should be used. Exchange of ideas. So the process involves exchange of ideas, and there will be a continuous communication. Sender will be giving a communication. The receiver will be receiving. He'll be giving a feedback. So it is a continuous process. So these are the characteristics of communication. Now coming to the types of communication. Okay. So broadly classified, we have two types of communication: verbal communication, non-verbal communication. Verbal, it's a type of communication where we use language, words. Through words, yes, I am using verbal communication now. So I'm using words, I'm using language. On the other side, non-verbal communication is something using a body language, but not words. For example, if I say, you can understand what I am saying. I did not use any language, I did not use any words, but I was just showing a gesture like, yes, you can understand that I am calling someone. Okay. So this type of communication is called non-verbal communication. And studying the ways in which how body movements are used to communicate, that is called as kinesics. Okay. Now coming to verbal communication. So again, if it is classified, we have two types of communication: formal communication, informal communication. Formal communication, usually it is in organization or in a structured setup, we follow formal communication. And it is further divided into downward communication, upward communication. For example, in an organization, if the managing director, higher authority, right? So if he passes information to the lower level employees, the flow will be downward. So the manager conveys the information to the next level employee, and he conveys the information to the lower level employees. So the flow is downward. Okay, so that is called as downward communication. So what is upward communication? Those lower level employees, if they want to send any message to the manager, the communication has an upward flow from right from bottom. The communication reaches the managing director. So the flow is upward. If they want to share something regarding bonus, or if they want to lodge any complaint, and if their communication flows from bottom to upward, it is called upward communication. So these are the two types of formal communication. Now coming to informal type. So we have three types here: lateral, diagonal, grapevine. Lateral communication is nothing but workers of same group, same cadre. When they communicate, it is called lateral communication. So everything is informal, friendly talk, friendly communication, and diagonal communication. So there will be many managers in an organization, products manager, sales manager, customs manager, just like that. So many managers will be. So if sales manager communicate to the employees under customs manager, that is called a diagonal communication. So two managers and more employees will be working under them. So if this manager communicate to the employees under this manager, that is called a diagonal communication. Okay? Now, grapevine communication, it's an interesting type of communication. Yes, grapevine is nothing but gossips, rumors. Okay, so this type of communication, we cannot understand the root from where it originated. We cannot find it. Okay, it is a friendly chat among employees of same cadre. That is called grapevine communication. So these are the types of communication we can find in an organization, in a structured organization. Okay? And more than this, we have some other communications too. Interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication. If I communicate to someone else, that is called interpersonal communication. Two persons are involved, it is interpersonal communication. And if I communicate within myself, if I am communicating to my consciousness, it is called intrapersonal communication. So these are all the types of communication. We just have a look. Okay. Now it's about barrier. Okay. So barrier. We all know whatever is done, if something is interrupting, something is hindering the process, means that is called as barrier. Even communication process can be stopped with something, can be stopped by something. So that is called as barrier. So it can be defined as the aspects or conditions that interfere, something that interferes with the effective exchange of ideas or thoughts. Okay, that is called a barrier. Now coming to the types of barrier, these are the common barriers that we find out. Physical barrier. Physical barrier is nothing but that eye contact, noise, environmental disturbances. So all these are called physical barriers. If I am talking to you, you don't have an eye contact, or if I am not looking at you, if I am looking at, if I am looking somewhere and talking, now would you like to listen to me? No, right? That is called physical barrier. And then it is cultural barrier. So differences in values and beliefs. Culture, we all know values and beliefs, right? So differences in these values and beliefs also will lead to a cultural barrier. For example, if an Indian is talking to a foreigner, their values and beliefs is different from what we follow. So if he is communicating to an Indian, means what he says, what he communicates, that person cannot understand fully, because their values and beliefs are different from his values and beliefs. Okay? So that is called a cultural barrier. Now, organizational barrier. So these are the barriers that is common, that are commonly found in organization. Differences of opinion, passing of information. If it is not done properly, so everything, lack of respect, so everything stops proper communication. Okay, so that is also a barrier. That is a barrier, organizational barrier. And then interpersonal barrier. Again, interpersonal barrier. If two persons are communicating, if one person doesn't want to listen to other person, he may not be giving an eye contact, he won't be responding properly. So all these are interpersonal barriers. And then it is linguistic barrier. It's a very important barrier. If I am talking to you in English, if you can't understand English, means can you receive the message? Can you understand what I am telling? Is my communication process successful? It is not so, right? So that is called a linguistic barrier. So language, the communication is done. So both persons should know that particular language. Unless it won't be successful, it won't be fruitful. So these are the common types of barriers. Okay. Now the last one is so many barriers are there that will be disturbing our communication. But if we have all these 7 C's in our communication will be effective. So what are the 7 C's? Just have a look at the 7 C's. Completeness, conciseness, consideration, clarity, concreteness, courtesy, and correctness. What is meant by completeness? A communication, your message should be complete. Okay? It should involve, it should have all the essential parts. Conciseness is something very definite. Your communication, your message should be very definite, specific, rather vague or general. Should be very particular. Consideration should be careful. It should be very careful, thoughtful. Okay. Clarity should be transparent, clear. What you want to communicate, it should be transparent. Concreteness, again, concreteness is nothing but again, being specific or definite, same, more or less same. Same meaning. Courtesy, being you should be very polite, and correctness, error-free communication. It should be right. Okay. So all these 7 C's, if you adopt these 7 C's in your communication, no doubt your communication will be effective. So that's what about this topic, communication. You just have these ideas in your mind. Okay, just given you an idea on what our topic is. You can refer to good books. You can refer to good online sources. So with those things, I'm sure you can easily get 10 marks from this topic. It's an easy thing. So 10 marks from reading comprehension, 10 marks from communication. It's a very easy thing. You just be focused. It's very easy to get 20 marks from English-based topics. Okay. So with that, I would like to conclude my session and just have a look at what Dhoni says. So ever do Captain Cool's words. I would like to conclude my session quoting his words. What he says is, he believes in giving more than 100% on the field, and he doesn't really worry about the results. So what he says is, you just give 100% on what you are. Okay, so be focused, be determined. Don't worry about the result. So if you are giving 100% means that itself is a victory. And don't worry, if you are giving 100%, if you are determined, if you are focused, the cup will be yours, the victory will be yours. That's what Captain Cool says, Dhoni says. Okay, so be focused, be determined, and I am sure you will be there. You will rock. You will be a net asset holder in the near future. So with this, I would like to conclude my session. So all the very best for your examination. Okay, thank you.